I'm 89 years old, and most mornings I wake up surprised that I'm still here. Not because I feel strong or grateful right away, but because there are so many things I thought time would fix for me that it never did. I'm sitting by the window as I say this, the same chair I've used for years. The light comes in softer now, or maybe my eyes are just tired. Either way, it feels quieter than it used to. Quieter inside me too. Not peaceful, just still. I'm not telling this story because I want to be understood. At my age, understanding doesn't change much. I'm telling it because I used to believe something that turned out not to be true. I believed that time would heal what I couldn't face, that if I waited long enough, the sharp parts would dull on their own. They didn't. At 89, time doesn't feel like something ahead of me anymore. It's something behind me, heavy, full, final. When people say you've lived a long life, they mean well. But they don't see how much of it I spent walking around things I was afraid to look at. I live alone now. That wasn't always the plan. Plans change quietly, though. One person leaves, another passes, a conversation never happens. You blink, and suddenly the house is too big and the silence too familiar. I don't have many visitors. A neighbor checks in sometimes. A distant relative calls on holidays. Mostly it's just me and the memories that come uninvited when the day slows down. Those memories don't arrive in order. They don't announce themselves. They slip in through ordinary moments. Washing a cup, folding a sweater, hearing a song I forgot I remembered. When I was younger, I thought avoiding pain was the same as being strong. I thought keeping busy meant I was handling things. I didn't know I was just postponing a reckoning. In my 20s, I was eager. Not reckless, just focused. I had work to do, a future to build, people to impress. I wasn't cruel or careless. I showed up. I paid bills. I did what was expected. I told myself that was enough. I married young. We were good together in the way people are when they don't ask too many questions yet. We laughed easily. We made plans we assumed we'd grow into. When problems appeared, they didn't arrive as disasters. They came as small discomforts, things we didn't quite agree on, words left unsaid because they felt inconvenient at the time. I remember thinking, this can wait. I remember believing there would be a better moment to talk, a calmer day, a future version of myself who would be braver. That version never showed up. Instead, we learned how to function without touching the deeper parts. We became efficient, polite, tired. We shared space more than we shared ourselves. I told myself this was normal. That marriage settles. That passion fades. That silence is better than conflict. What I didn't realize was that silence doesn't stay empty. It fills up with assumptions, with distance, with a quiet kind of loneliness that doesn't make noise but changes everything. Work helped me avoid noticing. I stayed late, took on responsibility, felt useful. People praised my reliability. That felt good, safer than asking hard questions at home. I thought I was being responsible. And in many ways, I was. I provided. I stayed. I didn't run away. But I also didn't turn toward the things that scared me. I didn't ask my wife what she needed when I sensed she was pulling back. I didn't say I felt lost when I did. I didn't admit how afraid I was of being inadequate. I assumed time would soften it. That age would bring clarity without discomfort. Years passed like that. Not dramatically, just steadily. Children came. That brought noise and purpose and exhaustion. We focused on schedules and school and keeping things afloat. There was always something more urgent than a difficult conversation. I missed small moments, not because I wasn't there physically, but because I wasn't fully present. I was thinking ahead, planning, worrying, waiting for things to settle down. They never did. The cost wasn't obvious at first. It rarely is. It showed up in glances held too briefly, in evenings spent in separate rooms, in conversations that stayed practical. I remember one night my wife tried to tell me something. I don't even remember what it was about. I remember looking at the clock. I remember saying, "Can we talk about this later?" Later became never. At the time, it felt harmless. A small delay, a reasonable choice. I had work early the next morning. That's how most damage happens. Not through cruelty, but through postponement. In my 40s, I started feeling a quiet restlessness. Not dissatisfaction exactly, more like an ache I couldn't name. I told myself it was stress, or age, or responsibility. I didn't stop to ask what it was really asking of me. Friends drifted, some moved away, some died younger than expected. I attended funerals and felt sad, but also strangely detached. I told myself I still had time, that their endings didn't have to mean anything about mine. I was wrong. The turning point didn't come with thunder. It came with a phone call, a diagnosis, a sentence that changed the shape of our days. My wife got sick. Slowly, at first. Then, all at once. Suddenly, time mattered. Suddenly, everything I had postponed felt urgent. I wanted to talk, to explain, to apologize for things I hadn't even fully admitted to myself. But illness changes the rules. Energy becomes scarce. Conversations are shorter. The window narrows. We had moments of closeness then, real ones, honest ones. But they were fragile, interrupted by pain, by fatigue, by fear. I remember sitting beside her bed, holding her hand, realizing how much I still didn't know about her inner life, how much I had assumed instead of asked. I told her I loved her. I had always loved her. That part was true. What I didn't get to say was how afraid I had been of facing my own shortcomings, how I mistook avoidance for patience. She passed away on a quiet morning. No dramatic last words, just a slowing, then stillness. Afterward, people told me time would heal. They meant well. They always do. But grief isn't a wound that closes if you leave it alone. It's a landscape you have to walk through. And I had spent a lifetime avoiding difficult terrain. In the years after, I stayed busy again. It was all I knew. I organized papers, fixed things that didn't need fixing, filled days with tasks so the nights wouldn't ask too much of me. But time kept moving, relentless, indifferent. Children grew up and built lives elsewhere. Calls became less frequent, understandably so. They were busy. I had once been too. I started to notice how little of myself I had actually shared with anyone, how often I had chosen being needed over being known. At 89, there is no illusion left about how much time remains. The body reminds you daily. The world moves faster than you can follow. People stop asking about your plans. This is when the things you refuse to face line up quietly, waiting. I think about conversations I avoided because I didn't want to seem weak, about apologies I delayed because I wanted to be right, about love I assumed was understood without being spoken. Time did not heal those things. It preserved them. They are intact, sharp, clear. There are things that cannot be fixed now, words that have no place to land, hands I can't hold, questions that will never be answered. That's the part people don't like to talk about. Not everything gets closure. Not everything softens. Some things remain exactly as they were when you turned away from them. If you're listening to this, I'm not asking you to do anything. I wouldn't presume to tell you how to live. You have your own fears, your own responsibilities, your own reasons for waiting. I only want you to know what I learned too late. Time is not a substitute for courage. It doesn't do the hard work for you. It just passes. If there's something you keep setting aside because it feels uncomfortable, it doesn't fade. It waits. Patiently. Longer than you expect. I used to think facing things would make life harder. Now I see that avoiding them made it smaller. There were joys, yes. I don't deny that. There was love. There was laughter. There were good years. I'm grateful for those. But gratitude can sit beside sorrow. They don't cancel each other out. I have learned to accept what cannot be changed. Acceptance isn't peace. It's just honesty without resistance. Some evenings, I sit with the window open and listen to the world moving on without me. Cars passing, voices in the distance, life continuing. I don't feel bitter, just aware. If this meant something to you, maybe it's because there's something in your life asking for your attention right now. Not urgently, just steadily. I hope you listen to it sooner than I did. As for me, I'll stay here a while longer. Remembering, letting the light fade, holding what's left with care. That's all I can do now.